Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Shri Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnu Bara Shatarashatashmar Shri Bhaktivedanta Vaman Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnu Bara Ashatarashatashmar Shri Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnu Bara Shatarashatashmar Shri Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnu Bara Shatarashatashmar Shri Bhakti Vigyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vishnu Bara Shatarashatashmar Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Mahabhagavat Shri Goksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Shri Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Nitil Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shri Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath Shar Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shiva Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachay Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल ब्रज मंडल मथुर वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अविश्य विरक्त गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज की जय। श्री मुनि देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। Dandavat pranams, Raseshwari Mataji, and I don't know how to say your name, but is it Borje Kolita or Borje Kolita? I don't know how to say your name, sorry about that. Haribo, Prajumna Prabhu, Ganga Didi, Madhavi Didi, Prajumna Prabhu, Dandavat pranams to all of you. Haribo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Radhikaya Priyatmane Shri Śrīmad-Bhakti Vedanta Narayaniti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo mahavadanyaya Krishna prema pradayate Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gauratishe namaha. Guruve gaurachandraya radhikaya tadalaya Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tarbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Prabrajantam Anupetam Apeta Krityam Dvaipayano Virahakatara Ajuhavo Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Binedu Stang Sarvabhuta Hridaya Munimanatosmi. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shavana kirtana hridantasto yavadrani vidhunoti suritsatam. Nashta prayeshvabhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavatuttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Tavai vasmi na jivami tvaya vina. Iti vigyaya radhe tvam nayamam charanantikam. Bhaktya vihina aparada lakshaya kshiptashtakama ditarangamati. Kripamai tam sharanam prapanna vrinde namaste charanarvindam. Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams. Oh wow! Indira Mataji's on the shore of Jamuna with Lalita Priya Manjulata. Dandavat pranams. Haribol. All right. So, yesterday, what did we read yesterday? I'm just gonna do a quick recap. 1 second. So, Kubera's instructions and benedictions to Dhruva. We read how Dhruva appeared and spoke to Dhruva Maharaj. He said, "Time causes creation and destruction. The bodily conception causes repeated birth and death. Please worship the Lord and ask for any benediction." And then Dhruva asks him for unflinching faith and remembrance of the Supreme Lord. Then Kubera returns to his kingdom. Then there's description Dhruva's glorious rule and renunciation. Dhruva worships the Supreme Lord through sacrifices and bhakti, seeing the Lord in everything and everything in the Lord. And then it described the qualities of Dhruva Maharaj and his rule and retirement. Everybody looked at Dhruva Maharaj like a father, and he took care of everybody. And I can't remember what was, let's see this, 13, 16. So, Dhruva ruled over Bhumandal for 36,000 years. He desired to diminish his pious results by enjoyment and destroy his sinful reactions by austerities. Dhruva thus passed many years, favorably executing dharma, artha, and kama. Thereafter, he realized this world to be like a Gandharva city in a dream. It was a creation of Maya. Considering how the bodily relations, possessions, and kingly opulences would be affected by time, he handed over the kingdom to his son and retired to Badarik Ashram. I didn't scan this yet. I have a scanner right here. I have a big book scanner, so I'm going to do that today. Scan this whole book. But I'm just going to read from it right now, just to give a quick recap of what we read yesterday. Dhruva purified his senses and bathed regularly, practiced sitting postures, controlled his breathing, and withdrew his senses. He meditated on the Archa Vigraha of the Lord and entered into samadhi, into trance. By his constant bhakti, Dhruva experienced incessant tears of bliss, melting of the heart, hairs standing on end, forgetting his bodily existence, and freedom from the subtle body. When one attains liberation from not only the gross body, but also the subtle body, one is competent and fully prepared to be transferred to the spiritual world. Dhruva Maharaj then saw a beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, illuminating all directions like the full moon. In that plane, Dhruva saw two chief associates of Vishnu, blackish, youthful, four-armed, with reddish lotus eyes, holding clubs, dressed attractively, wearing helmets, necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. Seeing them, Dhruva stood up, but being bewildered, he forgot how to receive them properly. He simply offered respects by folding his hands and chanting the holy names. Dhruva stood with folded hands, bowing humbly, absorbed in thinking of Krishna's lotus feet. Nanda and Sunanda spoke to Dhruva. Let there be good fortune unto you. When you were 5 years old, you pleased the Lord with your austerities. Now, please hear us attentively. What is possible, and then there's a note. What was possible for Dhruva is possible for everyone by proper training in Krishna consciousness from childhood. That was from Srila Prabhupada's purport. We are associates of the Supreme Lord, who is the creator of all the universes, and the holder of the Sharnga bow. We came to take you to his abode. Please reside in Vishnu-loka, which is very rare to achieve. Vishnu-loka is circumambulated by all planets and luminaries. It has been attained neither by your forefathers nor anyone else. Vishnu-loka is the residence of Lord Vishnu, the highest of all. And it is worshipable by the inhabitants of all other planets. You are worthy to board this unique airplane, which has been sent by the Lord, Uttama Shloka, who is the head of all living entities. Hearing these sweet words, Dhruva first took bath, performed daily rituals, accepted blessings from the sages, worshipped and circumambulated the airplane, and offered his respects to Nanda and Sunanda. Those were the two messengers of the Lord. He became effulgent as gold and prepared to board the airplane. Note: as Lord Vishnu is worshipable, so are his associates, paraphernalia, airplane, and abode. Everything of Lord Vishnu's is as good as Vishnu. At that time, Death personified arrived there. Dhruva placed his foot on the head of Death and boarded the airplane. Drums resounded in the sky, Gandharvas sang, and demigods showered flowers. As the plane was ascending, Dhruva remembered his mother, his Path Pradarshak Guru, who first instructed him in achieving the Lord's favor. He thought, how can I go to Vaikuntha leaving behind my poor mother? Understanding Dhruva's mind, Nanda and Sunanda showed him another airplane in which Suniti was also going. And there's two notes here. A father, mother, or guru, although not very advanced in bhakti, can go to the spiritual world if he or she has a child or disciple who strongly executes devotional service. And when we read this verse, it's verse 33, Srila Prabhupada gave the most beautiful comment in his purport. I shared it on Facebook, but let's see if I can just find it really quick. It was so beautiful. I'm just opening up Facebook. Of course, this is just coming out of his humility. It's not, and it wasn't. Srila Prabhupada's already eternal associate of Radha and Krishna, but let's see. Come on. Load. Here. Srila Prabhupada said, the Krishna consciousness movement is spreading now all over the world. And sometimes I think that even though I'm crippled in many ways, if one of my disciples becomes as strong as Dhruva Maharaj, then he'll be able to carry me with him to Vaikuntha Loka. Yeah, just had to share that. Okay. Taking inspiration from Suniti, every mother should instruct and train her child to become a devotee of the Supreme Lord. While being showered with flowers by the Devatas, Dhruva saw many planets on his way to Dhruvaloka. Passing through the Bhuvar and Swarlokas, the airplane finally arrived at Dhruvaloka, the residence of Lord Vishnu, beyond the planets of the seven sages. And there's a note here, Dhruvaloka is situated above the sun, but below Maharloka, referring to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 5:23-9. Interesting. Okay, I have, oh my god, a lot of questions there all of a sudden, but we'll get to that another time. So today we're reading the Glories of Dhruvaloka. Nārada Muni glorifies Dhruva at the Pracetās sacrifice, and then the Phala-śruti, the results of hearing this pastime. And today's reading, I know it's very late now, but today's reading is 1,000 words less than yesterday. So, let me share my screen. Uh, 35. So Dhruva Maharaj thus surpassed the 7 planetary systems of the great sages who are known as Saptarshi. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life and the planet where Lord Vishnu lives. Yad Brajamanam Svaruchaiva Sarvato Lokastrayo Hyanu Vibrajanta Ete Yana Vrajan Jantushu Ye Nanugraha Vrajanti Badrani Charanti Ye Nisham. The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to other living entities. Only persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for other living entities can reach the Vaikuntha planets. Purport. Here's a description of two aspects of the Vaikuntha planets. The first is that in the Vaikuntha sky there is no need of the sun and moon. This is confirmed by the Upanishads as well as Bhagavad Gita. Natar bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka. In the spiritual worlds, the Vaikuntha lokas are themselves illuminated. There is therefore no need of sun, moon, or electric light. It is in fact the illumination of the Vaikuntha lokas which is reflected in the material sky. Only by this reflection are the suns in the material universe illuminated. After the illumination of the sun, all the stars and moons are illuminated. In other words, all the luminaries in the material sky borrow illumination from Vaikuntha Loka. From this material world, however, people can be transferred to the Vaikuntha Loka if they incessantly engage in welfare activities for all other living entities. Such incessant welfare activities can really be performed only in Krishna consciousness. There is no philanthropic work within this material world but Krishna consciousness that can engage a person 24 hours a day. A Krishna conscious being is always engaged in planning how to take all of suffering humanity back home, back to Godhead. Even if one is not successful in reclaiming all the fallen souls back to Godhead, still, because he is Krishna conscious, his path to Vaikuntha Loka is open. He personally becomes qualified to enter the Vaikuntha Lokas, and if anyone follows such a devotee, he also enters into Vaikuntha Loka. Others who engage in envious activities are known as karmis. Karmis are envious of one another. Simply for sense gratification, they can kill thousands of innocent animals. Jnanis are not as sinful as karmis, but they do not try to reclaim others back to Godhead. They perform austerities for their own liberation. Yogis are also engaged in self-aggrandizement by trying to attain mystic powers. But devotees, Vaishnavas, who are servants of the Lord, come forward in the actual field of work and Krishna consciousness to reclaim fallen souls. Only Krishna conscious persons are eligible to enter into the spiritual world. That is clearly stated in this verse and is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, wherein the Lord says that there is no one dearer to him than those who preach the gospel of Bhagavad Gita to the world. My screen's being shared, right? Yes. Oh, and Dandavat Pranams Rupamanjali. Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha Sarva Bhutanuranjana Yantyanja Sachuta Padam Achuta Priyabandava. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship only with devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The description of this verse fully indicates that only devotees are eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. The first point stated is that devotees are peaceful, for they have no demands for their personal sense gratification. They are simply dedicated to the service of the Lord. Karmis cannot be peaceful because they have immense demands for sense gratification. As for Jnanis, they cannot be peaceful because they are too busy in trying to attain liberation or merge into the existence of the Supreme. Similarly, yogis are also restless to get mystic power. But a devotee is peaceful because he is fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thinks of himself as completely helpless. Just as a child feels complete peace in depending on the parent, so a devotee is completely peaceful, for he depends on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Wow, this is beautiful. A devotee is equipoised. He sees everyone on the same transcendental platform. A devotee knows that although a conditioned soul has a particular type of body according to his past fruit of activities, factually, everyone is part of the Supreme Lord. A devotee sees all living entities with spiritual vision and does not discriminate on the bodily concept of life. Such qualities develop only in the association of devotees. Without the association of devotees, one cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Factually, whoever lives in this society automatically develops Krishna consciousness. Devotees are dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only dear to devotees. On this platform only can one make progress in Krishna consciousness. Persons in Krishna consciousness, are devotees of the Lord, can please everyone, as is evident in the Krishna consciousness movement. We invite everyone, without discrimination. We request everyone to sit down and chant the Hare Krishna mantra and take as much prasad as we can supply, and thus everyone is pleased with us. This is the qualification. Sarva Bhutanuranjana. As for purification, no one can be more pure than devotees. Anyone who once utters the name of Vishnu immediately becomes purified, inside and outside. Yas Marit Pundarikaksham. Since a devotee constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra, no contamination of the material world can touch him. He is, therefore, actually purified. Muchi hoy, shuchi hoy, jadi Krishna bhaje. I've never seen that before. If someone is shuchi or if someone is muchi. What is that? Anyways, it is said that even a cobbler or person born in a family of a cobbler can be elevated to the position of a Brahman, suchi, if he takes to Krishna consciousness. Any person who is purely Krishna conscious and who engages in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the purest in the whole universe. Ittutana pada putro Dhruva Krishna parayana abhutrayanam lokanam chudamanir ivamala. Sorry. In this way, the fully Krishna conscious Dhruva Maharaj, the exalted son of Maharaj Uttanapad, attained the summit of the three statuses of planetary systems. Purport. The exact Sanskrit terminology for Krishna consciousness is here mentioned. Krishna Parayana. Parayana means going forward. Anyone who is going forward to the goal of Krishna is called Krishna Parayan, or fully Krishna conscious. The example of Dhruva Maharaj indicates that every Krishna conscious person can expect to reach the topmost summit of all three planetary systems within the universe. A Krishna conscious person can occupy an exalted position beyond the imagination of any ambitious materialist. Gambhira vego nimishan jyotisham chakramahitam yasmin brahmati kauravya medhyam eva gavam gana. Saint Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, descendant of Kuru, as a herd of bulls circumambulates a central pole on their right side, all the luminaries within the universal sky unceasingly circumambulate the abode of Dhruva Maharaj with great force and speed. Purport. Each and every planet within the universe travels at a very high speed. From a statement in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is understood that even the sun travels 16,000 miles in a second. And from Brahma Samhita, we understand from the shloka, Yat chakshur esha savita sakala grahanam, that the sun is considered to be the eye of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, and it also has a specific orbit within which it circles. Similarly, all other planets have their specific orbits, but together all of them encircle the pole star, or Dhruvaloka, where Dhruva Maharaj is situated at the summit of the three worlds. We can only imagine how highly exalted the actual position of a devotee is, and certainly we cannot even conceive how exalted is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mahimanam vilokyasya Nārada Bhagavan Rishi Atodyam vitudan shlokan satre gayat pracetasam. After observing the glories of Dhruva Maharaj, the great sage Nārada, playing his veena, went to the sacrificial arena of the Pracetās and very happily chanted the following 3 verses. Purport. The great sage Nārada was the spiritual master of Dhruva Maharaj. Certainly he was very glad to see Dhruva's glories. As a father is very happy to see the son's advancement in every respect, so the spiritual master is very happy to observe the ascendancy of his disciple. Nārada Uvaca Nunam sunite patidevatayas tapa prabhavasya sutasya tangatim drishtva bhupayan api vedavadino naivadikantum prabhavanti kim nripa. The great sage Nārada said, simply by the influence of his spiritual advancement and powerful austerity, Dhruva Maharaj, the son of Suniti, who was devoted to her husband, acquired an exalted position not possible to attain even for the so-called Vedantists, or strict followers of the Vedic principles, not to speak of ordinary human beings. Purport. In this verse, the word Vedavadina is very significant. Generally, a person who strictly follows the Vedic principles is called Vedavadi. There are also so-called Vedantists who advertise themselves as followers of Vedanta philosophy, but who misinterpret Vedanta. The expression Vedavada Rata is also found in the Bhagavad Gita, referring to persons who are attached to the Vedas without understanding the purport of the Vedas. Such persons may go on talking about the Vedas or may execute austerities in their own way, but it is not possible for them to attain to such an exalted position as Dhruva Maharaj. As far as ordinary kings are concerned, it is not at all possible. The specific mention of kings is significant, because formerly kings were also Rajarshis, for the kings were as good as great sages. Dhruva Maharaj was a king, and at the same time he was as learned as a great sage. But without devotional service, neither a king, a kshatriya, nor a great Brahman, strictly adhering to the Vedic principles, could be elevated to the exalted position attained by Dhruva Maharaj. Yapancha varsho gurudara vaksharar bhinena yato hridayena dhuyata vanang madadesha karojitam prabhum jigayatar bhakta gunai parajitam. The great sage Nārada continued, "Just see how Dhruva Maharaj, aggrieved at the harsh words of his stepmother, went to the forest at the age of only 5 years, and under my direction underwent austerity. Although the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unconquerable, Dhruva Maharaj defeated him with the specific qualifications possessed by the Lord's devotees." Purport: The Supreme Godhead is unconquerable. No one can conquer the Lord, but he voluntarily accepts subordination to the devotional qualities of his devotees. For example, Lord Krishna accepted subordination to the control of Mother Yashoda because she was a great devotee. The Lord likes to be under the control of his devotees. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that everyone comes before the Lord and offers him exalted prayers, but the Lord does not feel as pleased when offered such prayers as he does when a devotee, out of pure love, chastises him as a subordinate. The Lord forgets his exalted position and willingly submits to his pure devotee. Dhruva Maharaj conquered the Supreme Lord because at a very tender age, only 5 years old, he underwent all the austerities of devotional service. This devotional service was of course executed under the direction of a great sage, Nārada. This is the first principle of devotional service, Adau Guru Ashrayam. In the beginning, one must accept a bona fide spiritual master, and if a devotee follows strictly in the direction of the spiritual master, as Dhruva Maharaj followed the instruction of Nārada Muni, then it is not difficult for him to achieve the favor of the Lord. The sum total of devotional qualities is development of unalloyed love. That yawn came right before Krishna. The sum total of devotional qualities is development of unalloyed love for Krishna. This unalloyed love for Krishna can be achieved simply by hearing about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya accepted this principle, that if one in any position submissively hears the transcendental message spoken by Krishna or about Krishna, then gradually he develops the quality of unalloyed love, and by that love only he can conquer the unconquerable. The Mayavadi philosophers aspire to become one with the Supreme Lord, but a devotee surpasses that position. Not only does a devotee become one in quality with the Supreme Lord, but he sometimes becomes the father, the mother, or master of the Lord. Arjuna also, by his devotional service, made Lord Krishna his chariot driver. He ordered the Lord, "Put my chariot here," and the Lord executed his order. These are some examples of how a devotee can acquire the exalted position of conquering the unconquerable. Yakshatra bandhur bhuvitasya dirudam anvarurukshir api varshapugai shat pancha varsho yar aho biralpai prasad vaikuntam avapya tatpadam. Dhruva Maharaj attained an exalted position at the age of only 5 or 6 years, after undergoing austerity for 6 months. Alas, a great Kshatriya cannot achieve such a position even after undergoing austerities for many, many years. Purport. Dhruva Maharaj is described herein as Kshatra Bandhu, which indicates that he was not fully trained as a Kshatriya, because he was only 5 years old. He was not a mature Kshatriya. A Kshatriya or Brahman has to take training. A boy born in the family of a Brahman is not immediately a Brahman. He has to take up the training and purificatory process. The great sage Nārada Muni was very proud of having a devotee disciple like Dhruva Maharaj. He had many other disciples, but he was very pleased with Dhruva Dhruva Maharaj, because in one lifetime, by dint of his severe penances and austerities, he had achieved Vaikuntha, which was never achieved by any other king's son or Rajarshi throughout the whole universe. There is the instance of the great king Bharat, who was also a great devotee, but he attained Vaikuntha Loka in 3 lives. In the first life, although he executed austerities in the forest, he became victim of too much affection for a small deer, and in his next life he had to take birth as a deer. Although he had a deer's body, he remembered his spiritual position, but he still had to wait until the next life for perfection. In the next life, he took birth as Jada Bharat. Of course, in that life, he was completely freed from all material entanglement, and he attained perfection and was elevated to Vaikuntha Loka. The lesson from the life of Dhruva Maharaj is that if one likes, one can attain Vaikuntha Loka in one life, without waiting for many other lives. My Guru Maharaj, Śrīmad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada, used to say that every one of his disciples could attain Vaikuntha Loka in this life, without waiting for another life to execute devotional service. One simply has to become as serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharaj. Then it is quite possible to attain Vaikuntha Loka and go back home, back to Godhead, in one life. Whoa, isn't that amazing to think that it actually is possible in this life? Just this very one life to go back to Godhead. But becoming as serious and sincere as Dhruva Maharaj is it's no easy task, but it is possible. It is possible even for me. Maitreya uvacha etate bihitam sarvam yat prishto ham iha tvaya Dhruvasya damat yashas Dhruvasya dhama yashasas charitram samatam satam. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, whatever you have asked from me about the great reputation and character of Dhruva Maharaj, I have explained to you in all detail. Great saintly persons and devotees very much like to hear about Dhruva Maharaj. Purport. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam means everything in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whether we hear the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord, or we hear about the character, reputation, and activities of his devotees, they are all one and the same. Neophyte devotees simply try to understand the pastimes of the Lord and are not very interested in hearing about the activities of his devotees. But such discrimination should not be indulged in by any real devotee. Sometimes less intelligent men try to hear about the ras dance of Krishna, and do not take care to hear about the other portions of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which they completely avoid. There are professional Bhagavatam reciters who abruptly go to the Ras Lila chapters of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, as if other portions of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam were useless. This kind of discrimination and abrupt adoption of the Ras Lila pastimes of the Lord is not approved by the Acharyas. A sincere devotee should read every chapter and every word of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, for the beginning verses describe that it is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. Devotees should not try to avoid even a word of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The great sage Maitreya therefore affirmed herein that the Bhagavatam is the Samantam Satam. It is approved by great devotees. Dhanyam yashasya mayusham punyam swastyayanam mahat svargyam drovyam samanasyam prashasyam agamarshanam. By hearing the narration of Dhruva Maharaj, one can fulfill desires for wealth, reputation, and increased duration of life. It is so auspicious that one can even go to a heavenly planet or attain Dhruvaloka, which was achieved by Dhruva Maharaj, just by hearing about him. The demigods also become pleased because this narration is so glorious, and it is so powerful that it can counteract all the results of one's sinful actions. God, sorry guys, I don't know, I'm so exhausted today. It's very strange. Purport. There are different types of men in this world. Not all of them are pure devotees. Some are karmis, desiring to acquire vast wealth. There are also persons who are only after reputation. Some desire to be elevated to the heavenly planets or go to Dhruvaloka, and that should have been a comma, not a period. Right? No. Sorry. I need to. Some desire to be elevated to the heavenly planets or go to Dhruvaloka, and others want to please the demigods to get material profits. Herein it is recommended by Maitreya that every one of them can hear the narration about Dhruva Maharaj, and thus get their desired goal. It is recommended that the devotees, akam, and karmis, sarvakam, and gyanis who desire to be liberated, mokshakam, should all worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead to acquire their desired goals of life. Similarly, if anyone hears about the activities of the Lord's devotee, he can achieve the same results. There is no difference between the activities and character of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and those of his pure devotees. Shrutvaitach Shraddhaya Bhikshnam Achuta Priyacheshtitam Bhaver Bhaktir Bhagavati Yayasyat Klesha Sankshaya. Service. By such activities, one can diminish the threefold miserable conditions of material life. Purport. Achyuta Priya is very significant. Dhruva Maharaj's character and reputation are great. He is very dear to Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As the pastimes or activities of the Supreme Lord are pleasing to hear, hearing about his devotees who are very dear to the Supreme Person is also very pleasing and potent. If someone simply reads over and over again about Dhruva Maharaj by hearing and reading this chapter, one can attain the highest perfection of life in any way he desires. Most importantly, he gets the chance to become a great devotee. To become a great devotee means to finish all miserable conditions of materialistic life. Mahatam ichatam tirtam shrotashila dayoguna yatra tejastara ichunam mano yatra manasvinam. Anyone who hears this narration of Dhruva Maharaj acquires exalted qualities like him. For anyone who desires greatness, prowess, or influence, here is the process by which to acquire them. And for thoughtful men who want adoration, here is the proper means. Purport. In the material world, everyone is after profit, respectability, and reputation. Everyone wants the supreme exalted position, and everyone wants to hear about the great qualities of exalted persons. All ambitions which are desirable for great persons can be fulfilled simply by reading and understanding the narration of Dhruva Maharaj's activities. Prayata kirtayet prata sambad vaye dvijanam manam sayam cha punya shlokasya dhruvasya charitam mahat. The great sage Maitreya recommended, one should chant the character and activities of Dhruva Maharaj, both in the morning and in the evening, with great attention and care, in a society of Brahmins or other twice-born persons. What verse are we reading up to today? We're finishing the chapter, which is 52. Okay. Purport. It is said that only in the association of devotees can one understand the importance of the character and pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees. In this verse, it is especially recommended that Dhruva Maharaj, in this verse, it is especially recommended that Dhruva Maharaj's character be discussed in a society of the twice born, which refers to the qualified Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas. One should especially seek the society of Brahmins who are elevated to the position of Vaishnavas. Thus, discussion of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which describes the character and pastimes of devotees and the Lord, is very quickly effective. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness has been organized for this purpose. In every center of this society, not only in the morning, evening, and noon, but practically 24 hours a day, there is continuous devotional service going on. Anyone who comes in contact with the society automatically becomes a devotee. We have actual experience that many karmis and others come to the society and find a very pleasing and peaceful atmosphere in the temples of ISKCON. In this verse, the word Janmanam means of the twice born. Anyone can join the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and be initiated to become twice born. As recommended by Sanatana Goswami, by the process of initiation and authorized training, any man can become twice born. The first birth is made possible by the parents, and the second birth is made possible by the spiritual father and Vedic knowledge. Unless one is twice born, one cannot understand the transcendental characteristics of the Lord and his devotees. Study of the Vedas is therefore forbidden for Shudras. Simply by academic qualifications, a Shudra cannot understand the transcendental science. At the present moment, throughout the entire world, the educational system is geared to produce Shudras. A big technologist is no more than a big Shudra. Kalo Shudra Sambhava. In the age of Kali, everyone is a Shudra. Because the whole population of the world consists only of Shudras, there is a decline of spiritual knowledge, and people are unhappy. The Krishna consciousness movement has been started especially to create qualified Brahmins to broadcast spiritual knowledge all over the world, for thus people may become very happy. Okay. Purnamasyam sinivalyam tadashyam shavane tava tinakshaye vati pate sankramer kadine piva Shavayet shradhadananam tirtapara padashaya Nechang statratmanatmanam santushta. Okay. Persons who have completely taken shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord should recite this narration of Dhruva Maharaj without taking remuneration. Specifically, recitation is recommended on the full moon or dark moon day, on the day after Akadashi, on the appearance of the Shravan star, at the end of a particular titi, or the occasion of Vyatipat, at the end of the month, or on Sunday. What day is it today? It's Thursday. Such recitation should of course be performed before a favorable audience. When recitation is performed in this way, without professional motive, the reciter and the audience become perfect. I think we did most of these. Did we do this on Dvadashi? Dark Moon Day, I'm not sure. No, we didn't do Dark Moon Day. But we were reading this story on Sunday, weren't we? We're at the end of the month now. Yeah. Purport. Professional reciters may ask money to extinguish the blazing fire within their bellies, but they cannot make any spiritual improvement or become perfect. It is therefore strictly forbidden to recite Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam as a profession to earn a livelihood. Only one who is completely surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, depending fully on Him for personal maintenance, or even for maintenance of his family, can attain perfection by recitation of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is full of narrations of the pastimes of the Lord and His devotees. The process can be summarized as follows. The audience must be faithfully receptive to the Bhagavat message, and the reciter should completely depend on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhagavat recitation must not be a business. If done in the right way, not only does the reciter achieve perfect satisfaction, but the Lord also is very satisfied with the reciter and the audience, and thus both are liberated from material bondage simply by the process of hearing. Jnanam agyata tattvaya yo dadyat satpate mritam kripalor dinanatasya devatasya anugrihnate. The narration of Dhruva Maharaj is sublime knowledge for the attainment of immortality. Persons unaware of the absolute truth can be led to the path of truth. Those, out of transcendental kindness, take on the responsibility of becoming master protectors of the poor living entities, automatically gain the interest and blessings of the demigods. Purport. Jnanam agyata means knowledge which is unknown almost throughout the entire world. No one knows actually what is the absolute truth. Materialists are very proud of their advancement in education, in philosophical speculation, and in scientific knowledge, but no one actually knows what the absolute truth is. The great sage Maitreya, therefore, recommends that to enlighten people about the absolute truth, tattva, devotees should preach the teachings of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam throughout the entire world. Srila Vyasadeva easily compiled this great literature of scientific knowledge because people are completely unaware of the absolute truth. In the beginning of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, first canto, it is said that Vyasadeva, the learned sage, compiled this great Bhagavat Puran just to stop the ignorance of the mass of people. Because people do not know the absolute truth, the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam was specifically compiled by Vyasadeva under the instruction of Nārada. Generally, even though people are interested in understanding the truth, they take to speculation and reach at most the conception of to enlighten people about the absolute truth, the Supreme Personality of God. Although there is no fundamental difference between impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and the Supreme Person, factual immortality cannot be obtained unless and until one attains the stage of associating with the Supreme Person. Devotional service, which leads to the association of the Supreme Lord, is actual immortality. Pure devotees out of compassion for the fallen souls are kripalu, very kind to people in general. They distribute this Bhagavat knowledge all over the world. A kind-hearted devotee is called Dinanath, protector of the poor, ignorant mass of people. Lord Krishna is also known as Dinanath, or Dinabandhu, the master or actual friend of poor living entities. And his pure devotee also takes the same position of Dinanath. The Dinanaths are devotees of Lord Krishna, who preach the path of devotional service, become the favorites of the demigods. Generally, people are interested in worshipping the demigods, especially Lord Shiva, in order to obtain material benefits. But a pure devotee who engages in preaching the principles of devotional service, as prescribed in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, does not need to separately worship the demigods. The demigods are automatically pleased with him and offer all the blessings within their capacity.
It's 8 o'clock.
Oh my God, it's already 8 o'clock. As by watering the root of the tree, the leaves and branches are automatically watered, so by executing pure devotional service to the Lord, the branches, twigs, and leaves of the Lord, known as the demigods, are automatically pleased with the devotee, and they offer all benedictions. Okay, we're done. This is the last verse. Idang mayate bihitam kurudvaha Dhruvasa vikyata vishuddha karmana Hidvar paka krida nakani matur Griham cha vishnum sharanam na yojagama. The transcendental activities of Dhruva Maharaj are well known all over the world, and they are very pure. In childhood, Dhruva Maharaj rejected all kinds of toys and playthings, left the protection of his mother, and seriously took shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu. My dear Vidura, I therefore conclude this narration, for I have described to you all its details. Purport. It is said by Chanakya Pandit that life is certainly short for everyone, but if one acts properly, his reputation will remain for a generation, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna is everlastingly famous, so the reputation of Lord Krishna's devotee is also everlasting. Therefore, in describing Dhruva Maharaj's activities, two specific words have been used: Vikyata, very famous, and Vishuddha, transcendental and immaculately pure. Dhruva Maharaj is leaving home at a tender age and taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the forest is a unique example in this world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 4th canto, 12th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Goes Back to Godhead. Alright. How late am I today? Oh my god. Over 1 minute. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Shishi Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmachila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Shri Gurudeva Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Shila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Mahabhagavat Shila Gorkshadas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Shila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Shila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupano Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Vallabha Tirtha Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitilapa Vishnu Vishnupad, Ashtatarashata Shmad Shila Bhakti Pramod Puri Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rup Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath, Sharad Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Namachay Shila Hairas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandala Gaur Mandala Vraja Mandala Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Abhishta Pradata Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kunda Shama Kund ki jai, Shri Mona Devi Ganga Devi ki jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai, Shri Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya ki jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Shri Dhruva Maharaj ki jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Shri Nārada Muni ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shnitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams. Hari Bol. Dandavat pranams to all three of you, Intira Mataji and Hari Bol. Hari Bol, Rup Manjari Didi, and Prajumna Prabhu, and everybody else. Dandavat pranams. Sorry, I was feeling really sleepy today. Madhavi Didi, Dandavat pranams. I'm just, yeah. All right, Hari Bol. And see you either this evening or tomorrow morning. Jai Shri Radhe.